All right. Welcome back. It is Bardic Knowledge, episode 3. I apologize I was not here last week. As I had promised, I had the plague. It was pretty bad, but I've defeated it. I can now function as a human, which I was not able to do last time. So appreciate you being here. Again, Bardic Knowledge, 3rd episode. If you have been here before, thank you for coming back. Thank you for joining me on our musical RPG journeys. If you have not been here before, this is Bardic Knowledge. I am Cam. I'm here. I'm writing music for our tabletop RPG, Everstorm, that we play. It's a Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. We play every few weeks, which we are actually playing this Saturday evening. So come join us for that. But again, quick overview is that this show is about me making the music for that game. We kind of discovered that a lot of the music you can use, some of it's license free, some of it's kind of okay. And of course, we don't want to use things with licenses. So I'm making it for us now. So this is 3rd episode, and we are working on Morgain's theme, which is my character. I know, feels super self-centered, but it's not, I promise. It was Rain Survive's idea to do this way. So today what we're going to do is we're actually going to be continuing on Morgain's theme. Probably got another episode, maybe another episode after this into that, and then that should probably have us most of the way built, and then I might save all the fine-tuning for off-camera. It's probably not super interesting and exciting. However, last week we wrote a bunch of things. Basically, I started with a single line theme that I liked, built on it from there. What I think I'm going to be doing this week is I'm going to be making basically like that whole thing we did before is kind of like the A section. So I'm going to be making like a B section. And then maybe we'll return to the A section later. Maybe we'll go to a C section. I don't know yet. That didn't sound right. Section C, we're going to maybe do that. Anyway. So what I thought I would do is I would play maybe what we did last time. Actually, before I do that, I've been talking about a lot of the different instruments before I kind of get started every day. Don't have as much to report as last time because I keep finding all these cool new instruments. But I did find a new instrument that I like. I wrote a bunch of percussion things last time, a bunch of snare drum stuff. I kind of hated the snare drum part, so I might be getting rid of that. We'll see. I'm going to have it muted for tonight. We did put some timpani in there by request from Leviathan, and I actually really like how that's working, so we're definitely keeping that. But I was doing a little research while I was on vacation and while I was dying on my couch with the plague. And a lot of the big kind of cinematic drums that you hear a lot of times, especially like Hans Zimmer type things, things like if you listen to the Pirates of the Caribbean, that sort of thing, just kind of big booming drums. And I figured out that those are actually all taiko drums. So taiko drums, Japanese, all different sizes. Usually when you see them perform, they're performed in this big ensembles. With a bunch of different sized and different tuned drums. Generally, they are all played like simultaneously, the same part, making this kind of big booming sound, but there is a little bit of like back and forth in there. However, I did find a version of that. So I am going to play a little bit of that for you just so you can hear it. I'm going to be adding it. We may or may not get to adding it tonight, but we'll at least hear the new instrument. So once that kind of pops in here, we can take a listen to that. So taiko drums are what these are called. Let's make sure I have this. Oh, I got strings too. There we go. So what's really cool is the person that put together this thing here for these taiko drums. Let me pull it up here. So he used an open source program called Sforzando. So you're seeing it here, and basically what you do is you build libraries of sounds and then you can import them into Sforzando. Sforzando allows you to play them on a keyboard and use them as MIDI. So you'll kind of see, if you can see, let me move this over a little bit for you guys. So if you can see down here, the keyboard at the bottom here, there's only so many notes being used, and the gentleman that did this was very clever, and what he did is he actually doubled. So I don't know if you can see me playing down here. So these two, basically the white key and the black key next to each other, are going to be the same drum. So what that allows you to do is lets you roll on it without having to like try to peck on one key. So it's actually really cool. But we've got a bunch of different, you'll hear a bunch of different pitches here. So really low kind of booming ones, and then they actually have some a little more dry, but they've actually got some, like, because a big part of the taiko drumming is actually hitting on the side of the drum, so that's actually really close to the edge. There we go. So that's like kind of yes, very Mortal Kombat. Good call. I did not even think about that, but that is true. Very, very Mortal Kombat kind of sounds there. So I'm going to be trying to integrate those in. And again, I think I'm going to be kicking most of the snare drum stuff out that I did last time. I kept going back and listening to it, and I just didn't like what I was doing with it. So maybe we'll bring some of it back in, but probably not exactly as I did it. Again, part of the creative process. Sometimes you make stuff that you hate, and then you can get rid of it and know you hate that and come up with something new. So for now, we're going to close that out. And what we're going to do is, you probably can't tell if you're not super familiar with the program here, but I do have most of our drums kind of muted in here because, again, not super excited about what we did with it. So what I am going to do here is I'm going to play through what we have so far. And then while I'm doing that, I'm going to keep an eye on this chat so I don't forget to do it. I'm going to keep telling myself I'm going to read this chat. So we'll take a listen at what we did last time minus some of the drum stuff we did. All right, so that is what we did last time. Looks like about a minute and 20-ish seconds worth of music. So the goal, I think I've stated this before, but the goal is to get somewhere between 4 and 6 minutes total. That way we can kind of loop it in if we need to and loop it back on itself. That way if somebody's taking a long time in combat and it needs to go for 10 minutes or 15 minutes or something like that, then it's not going to be super repetitive and drive everyone listening crazy. So I do appreciate the get the second monitor. The hashtag is real. I will do it. Eventually. There's just other things I need to buy, important stuff like fake instruments to play on the stream. So anyway, all right. So agreed. This does kind of have I did feel like it had a little bit of a Final Fantasy theme, as Reign Survives is saying here. That's actually fairly good segue here. So what I was going to talk about a little bit today, not necessarily with Kingdom Hearts or Final Fantasy, but I was going to talk about how a lot of times when you're writing music, especially if you don't have a whole lot of experience with it, it seems very daunting, and it seems like there's a billion things musically that could happen, and I don't know what any of them are, and I don't know how to do them or which one to pick or what. Or how do I get this mood, or how do I do this or that? So one thing that happens a lot, myself included, all the greats, like if you look and you listen to like actually a lot of John Williams, especially with movies, what will happen is a movie director, before the music's ever made, movie director will go find a bunch of music that already exists and kind of put it in the movie. So that way they kind of get the idea and get the feeling of what they want. And then what they do is they send that to the composer. So like a John Williams, for example, for like Star Wars, the example I'll use. I cannot remember the name of the piece, but you can go back and you can find the piece that was like the piece that was in its place before the main before that was made. Like there is a piece that is very similar in like feel, and even the first couple of notes are the same. So a lot of times you take inspiration from other things that you've heard, that kind of, you hear something like, oh, it gave me that feeling, or oh, that really fits this situation. And what you can do is you can take that, and then when you start putting your own spin on it, or even just use it as the starting idea, a lot of times you'll write something completely different that is not recognizable as the thing that you took inspiration from. So that's a little bit of what I'm going to be doing tonight. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, when I was thinking about this during the last couple of weeks about what I wanted to do next, I don't know why, but the theme, not the theme, but the song in, if anybody remembers the original Punch-Out video game for NES, there's a scene once you pass like the 3 rounds and you beat the little mini boss that little Mac is jogging and his coach is riding the bike, and they're riding down you can see the coast of New York City, and so whatever reason that song popped into my head, and I was like, that's kind of like a driving, working towards something type of feel. It wasn't necessarily like triumphant and I've succeeded, but more of like we're getting down to like work hard, and we're working towards something. So I thought, for whatever reason, yes, that's exactly right, Gray Sweat, Statue of Liberty. So I was thinking of that for whatever reason, and I liked that feel for the next section of this song. So if you don't remember, it's actually, I don't actually know how to play the whole thing, but the kind of the chording structure was da 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 da. So like so it's kind of like that idea where basically it was these, or I'm sorry. So kind of that like where the chords kind of go down and come back up. So basically, I was kind of thinking that same theme, and for whatever reason, it actually just so happened to be in the exact same key, which I didn't do on purpose. It just popped in my head that way, and it could be the reason why it popped in my head, just because I recognized the notes or something like that. But hey, Animal G, thanks for joining. So I think I'm going to play on that, but I'm not going to play that exactly. So I was kind of picking around on this a little bit, and kind of what I came up with is just really using that kind of falling chords and then coming back up kind of idea. So this is sort of what I came up with. Hopefully this will, and again, this is just kind of the beginning layer here, so hopefully I can actually remember to play it right. So let's see. So that would kind of repeat through. So that's kind of kind of the idea I'm going to be going with. Now, what I did do, I obviously that doesn't sound exactly like the little Mac jogging down the New York road there. But what I did do is I kind of altered it a little bit, just kind of based on the idea. What I did do is I actually added, if you remember last week, we talked about, or 2 weeks ago, I'm sorry, we talked about that tritone note that kind of sounds really weird out, like when it's not in context, but then once you put it in the so that note kind of sounds funny out of context, but what I'm doing is I'm actually adding that back into context, and what it's doing is it's adding a little bit of tension so that we can kind of wrap back around and start back over on that first chord. So just to kind of do it slowly again. So first chord, then we're dropping down. We're going to drop down again. And we're going to drop down, but we're going to start our transition. And that lets us come back to the beginning. So that, again, that kind of turnaround, again, is... So, with, again, that... Oh, Castlevania, good call. Didn't think about that one, but yes, a little bit in that way too. So I'm using that funky note in there to help me turn it back around, add some tension, so everybody, when you hear it, you think, oh, something's happening. So it's time to figure out what that is, and it makes you pay attention again. And so we turn back around and start to repeat. So what I am gonna do. Oh, that's right, I forgot. Animal G is in California. They are, or I don't know. I'm not sure if he's out here yet or not. It looks like he might be, but I'm going to be joining him out looking at colleges and whatnot. So, so Rain survives, just prodding me with questions that he knows the answer to. But I am not a piano player, as you probably could tell already. This is more what I use as a tool. So that way, basically it's so I can get my ideas in there easier than having to like kind of pluck and do all those sorts of things. So, anyway, so what I'm going to do is I have not worked out a transition yet from our first section to our second section. I feel like that's probably going to be needed. So what I'm going to do for now is I'm going to write section B that we've been talking about tonight. I'm going to write that kind of by itself. And then if we have time at the end of the night, we might try working on the transition between the two. If we don't have time, we can do that in a following one too. So, like I said, what I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to start kind of just doing this section on its own, and then kind of creating it the way I want it, making it sound right, and then trying to squeeze them together later with a transition. And then if not everything works, I'll be able to kind of adjust based on what did and didn't work. So, all right. So what we are going to do is we are going to start with the exact same thing I just played for you. We're going to try and make that work. So let me make sure my click is on. We're going to record that down, make sure that it is gonna work as far as timing and everything too. So let's go ahead and do that part. Right. I know I had a couple of clunker notes in there. Oh, apparently I recorded that twice. Well, we didn't need to record it twice, so I'll get rid of one of those. All right, so let's work on this one here. This is where I want it to be anyway. So, probably going to need to quantize that, as we have done many times in the past. And let's take a listen, make sure it came out somewhat correctly. right, that'll work. So what I'm gonna do, I believe I did this last time. Let me just double check on what it looks like here. Yeah, that's what I did. Okay, so if you'll remember last time, I went in, I did a little bit of adjusting on some of these that were kind of extra loud or extra quiet. So I'm going to bring them down just a little bit into the range of the others. Okay, and then I'm going to grab everything and I'm going to bring it all up a bit so that we can get that extra intensity feeling that we kind of talked about last time. So this should be a little bit more intense feeling. Alright, I think that's going to work for kind of the sound we're going for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this back up top. So just like I did last time, I was using this track here kind of as scratch paper. So that way I can make sure I get the thing down and then I can move it into basically the place where I actually want it to live. And again, I'm going to be moving this around. So eventually we're going to squeeze all this into where there's no gap up here so that it'll just be continuous music. But again, I want to write this section so that it's kind of its own thing, and then we'll work out how to put them together later. So that way, because sometimes the transitions can take a long time to figure out, and kind of a good rule of thumb with anything creative, not just music, if you're writing, like, writing a story or writing a paper or doing whatever you're doing, if you ever come to a roadblock, and this isn't my original idea, I've heard many people say this, come to a roadblock and you just do not know what to do, instead of sitting there and just toiling over like, oh, I gotta figure this out, a lot of people just write in like, figure it the hell out, and just leave it there, and then you'll come back to it later. But what it allows you to do is go to the next part that you already have a little bit of something kind of brewing for. You can kind of figure that all out, and then when you come back to it, now you've got 75, 80, 90% of your work done, and now all you have to do is come back and work on those little parts. So that's kind of what I'm doing today, is avoiding those little things of the what the hell am I going to do here sections, and then going to the section that I kind of know what I want to do in general. So that way I can kind of push through that a little bit there. So, all right, so let's clean this up just a hair. All right, so what I want to do is, again, we kind of talked about last time, when things change in music, most of the time everything doesn't change. So I want to bring a little bit of continuity, even though we're doing completely different things as far as like musically, it's completely changing. But what I want to do is, you'll kind of notice we're still playing just about every eighth note, kind of like we did before, even though the sound's different. But I want to actually kind of mimic some of the instrumentation as well. So what we did the first time around is we kind of had just the strings, which was the strings were just kind of playing the theme by itself with a little bit of those like stabs underneath it. So what I want to do is last time what we did is we made basically we took it an octave up after we kind of played through it once. So I think I'm going to be doing that again. So what I'll do is I'm actually going to copy and paste. I believe let's just do this section for now. So what we want to do is figure out what we're going to play underneath this. So again, probably kind of that idea of those kind of stab hit type of ideas there. So, all right, let me make sure I'm not missing anything here. All right. Yeah, a lot of California. Yeah, there's a lot of. Yeah, I know we're going to be coming out and going to Stanford with him when he gets out here too. Lots of great food. That's true. You guys keep having your conversation. Don't let me stop you. I'm just checking it out. So yes, and then ignoring the block and all that sort of thing. So I just want to make sure nobody was like yelling at me to do something or like, oh, your mic's dead. What are you doing, you noob? All right, so excuse me, still have the plague a little bit. Pardon me. All right, so yeah, everybody be quiet. I'm paying attention. All right, so we're gonna work on maybe getting some of those stabs under there. So again, we're kind of coming down. So we want to make sure we have something. It's actually not what I planned, but maybe it'll work. Let's try it out, see what happens. Not quite. Let's see here. So if we do... Alright, let's just kind of play around with it, see kind of what happens here. Alright, so I still need to figure out what to do with that fourth chord there. That's not quite right. Let's play it again. So if we go... Not sure if that chord works. I like it by itself, but I don't know if it's going to work together. So let's try to play around a little bit more, see what we can make happen here. Let's see what we were doing there. So we were... Maybe that'll work. That's better. I like that. Okay, that'll work. Okay, cool. So that will work. We can do that. All right. So let's put some of those in there, make them work, and then we can kind of filter them in and out, and maybe add some more orchestration underneath it. But we'll kind of get the bass line going for now. So let's Let's see how many I got to get. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's make sure this sounds right. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, that's enough. I was trying to time myself out at the beginning so I can actually start when it's supposed to start. So. Ooh, I hit a lot of wrong notes in there. But as we have seen in the past, I can go back in and fix those with the wonders of technology. So, let's use the wonders of technology. Alright, first we will quantize this because I missed a lot of beats in there too. So, let's play through it and see what I missed. There's a bad note there. We can get rid of that one. Alright, definitely got a wrong note in there. Get rid of that. And then because of the wrong note, I actually kind of mishit a couple of notes there. So let's not only bring them up because I kind of only half hit them because I wasn't sure about them. And then let's actually move them where they're supposed to be. Alright. Then I hit a terrible note at the end, which is okay because that note actually doesn't even need to be there. So we can just get rid of it altogether. Cut that off. And we can cut this off there too. Alright, so I'm going to go in, fix a few of these that are out of whack as far as velocity and volume. Now, actually, what I think I'm going to do here too is what we did on the top line is that we increased everything to make it more intense. What I think I'm actually going to do is I'm going to grab everything here and I'm going to drop it just a little bit to kind of almost make it sound like there's this triumphant thing happening on top while we're kind of keeping everything else kind of down low and kind of just vamping behind it a little bit. So I don't know if that'll work, but we're gonna try it out. See how we like it. So I'm gonna take these down to maybe like 100. So this should, you'll notice, a lot more green, a lot less orange, yellow, reds. So let's kind of see if that got the effect I was going for there. Actually, let me move this where I want it to be to. Okay. I think that is playing its part. That's doing what it should do. So as we did before when we made those kind of vamp stabs with the strings, we basically took the some short brass sounds and some short wind sounds, and we copied and pasted those so we could get that bigger feel. So I'm going to do the same thing here. And again, this is kind of part of working on keeping continuity. So this is a similar instrumentation from the time before, so it's going to sound like the same. It's going to be the same timbre, same sounds are happening, even though it's a different actual notes and different pitches. So let's kind of see how that goes. so that's good. That's working there. And I think what I'm going to do too, again, kind of the thing we did before. Remember when we played something through the first time, we kind of played it, we establish it, and then what we did is we would add instrumentation. What we did on part of it is we added an octave up. So I am going to do that again. But I think what I'm going to do first is I'm going to have all these strings happening, and then I think I'm going to add in woodwinds as well. So add that in the first time we play it through. So let's figure out where that repeats. Should be right here. So what I can do, let me split. Oh no, that's not what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna split that, copy that. I'm gonna put that here in the woodwinds and see. Make sure that lines up too. I believe that's going to be in line. Let's actually solo those two so we make sure they are together. Whoops. Solo, solo. Okay, so they are together. What I might do, I might bring in the intensity a little more with the woodwinds here. So I'm going to take down some of these peaks that we have here, bring them down just a little bit. And again, what I'm doing here is by bringing down the peaks, I can bring the whole thing up more, and then that will kind of allow me to add that intense feeling by not actually doing anything different except increasing. All right, a lot more red and orange there. Okay, so let's do. Okay, so let's kind of play. I'm going to play it from the first section to the second section, so you can kind of hear the change in intensity when those extra woodwinds come in. I think that is working. All right. All right, so let's see here. So I think that is a good start on that. Let's kind of make sure we're kind of copying what we're doing here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it through. We're going to do all that stuff again. And what that's going to do is then I can add another layer on top of a octave up. So I'm going to copy all that. I'm going to paste all that. Look at all this cheating I'm doing. I love it. I love it. So let's actually need to add another copy of this. How am I going to do that? Let's see here. So I think I'm going to have an extra note on the both ends here, which is not what I want. So I need to get rid of that one. I need to get rid of this one. I think that will fit. Let's see if I just completely screwed it up or not. I might have done it right. Let's see what the transition sounds like and make sure it doesn't sound awful. Correct transition. All right. right, so that works. So I see Rain put in a message there. Highlighted message, which is a thing you can do, which is apparently the only way to get me to look at things. So kind of like, so I talked about this last time, that I kind of want to write all these character themes based on the word that all the players chose for their character, that we put into our new Everstorm intro. So everybody, basically, all the players chose for the character like a word or two words for the reason that they set off on this ship. So in our Everstorm game, it's a maritime game. We're all on this ship on the open sea, lost, and we all got onto a ship for a reason. Everybody wanted to go do something. So my character's backstory was more that he hadn't ever really left his hometown, had always just kind of been in the same place, seen the same things, and his whole point of leaving was for adventure. So I'm trying to capture adventure here. So basically, that whole first part was the section A, I guess I should say, that we did 2 weeks ago, felt to me very much like if I was watching some sort of, maybe a Lord of the Rings type, or if I was watching a Pirates of the Caribbean, or if I was watching Lord of the Rings, or I think I said Lord of the Rings. Anyway, something like that, or a Game of Thrones, or something like that. That kind of theme feels like it would fit behind something that maybe was a little bit whimsical, maybe a little bit naive, but it was like you could see a character like going out there and is just excited and is going to go out and do this thing that they have no idea necessarily what they're getting into. So that's kind of the feeling I got from that first section. And kind of my idea with section B, which again, very much felt like, again, the inspiration I took it from, you get that music in Punch-Out after Little Mac has, won, I think, 3 or 4 matches that, so it's almost like this section is, okay, maybe now Morgain's gone out there, maybe he's now seen things, and maybe now he understands that it's not just all playtime, whimsical, we're going to go have fun, and, it's going to be all lighthearted. This section maybe is a little bit more like, oh, this is a little bit more work and a little bit harder than he thought it was going to be. This is a little bit more difficult of a life to live than he kind of initially gave it, credit for. So that's kind of what I'm going for with section B here. And then again, maybe we'll do a section C. Maybe I think we're going to bring it back to the first section again, section A. But I haven't quite decided if I want to push something different first or what. But that's it. It was a little long-winded, but that's kind of what I'm doing. That's kind of my thought process. Again, I've been starting to kind of think about the other characters as well. Again, I've got a little bit of a start on what I think will be a good Kodo theme. And again, I'm trying to keep those keywords in mind, and I'm also trying to keep these feeling cinematic. So I'm trying to, when I'm making some music and I'm listening to it, that I can easily, fabricate a scene in my head. Like, like I could come up with a bunch of different things that I think Morgain would be doing with this music behind him, or like the one that I'm working on with Kodo. Like, again, Kodo a little bit more militaristic. It's a little bit more kind of, I just feel like watching like a cutscene of Kodo like fighting, that sort of thing. So I'm trying to keep these not only in the vein of the word that each player chose, but also something that I could picture going on behind a scene that I can see in my head. So I know not everybody can do that. Sorry, Rain survives. I know he's always had issues with like actually seeing moving pictures in his head, but that's very much everything that I do. Like I can always see a picture in my head. I can always do that. So that's kind of how I have to do this. So that's again my long-winded way of saying adventure. Section A, section B. So anyway, back to where we're going here. Good question, by the way. Good question. So what I'm going to do is when we get, basically we're going to play it it's going to one time through, then the second time through, the woodwinds are going to come in. Then I think the third and fourth time through, I'm going to have a second strings come in, but it's going to be that octave up. So again, like we did last time, popping that thing up so it just adds that extra level of intensity. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy what we did before. I'm going to paste it. Then I'm going to, open it up here. And I'm going to take everything up an octave. And again, it's going to sound real funny for a second here, but we'll make it work. So let's see. So we're on C. Oh, do I have it muted? I just had everything soloed. That's why. Okay, so let's try that again. So now you can actually hear how funny it's going to sound. Ta-da! All right, so let's copy that, paste that. I think I'm gonna have to cut. No, I think that's actually okay. That should line up. Let's make sure. Yeah, it looks right. So let's listen the second time through, transitioning into the third time through here, and hopefully it doesn't sound awful. Well, that was off, but it sounded really interesting there for a minute, so I kind of just let it go. I don't know that I can let that stay, but that actually was kind of cool. I don't know. Let me play it again. That actually was kind of neat. It kind of turned into a round because it was off by a little bit because I placed it wrong, but I know we talked about it a little bit in some of the previous streams about happy accidents. I don't know. Let me see if we can make that work. That actually was kind of a fun happy accident. Should happen right here. I actually kind of think that is cool. I kind of want to leave it in there, but I'm not sure. What it kind of does is, I'll play it again and I'll try to like illustrate it. But what it does is kind of what we're doing right now. It's so it's, and what it almost changes it into a do-do-da-do-do-da-do. It almost like brings it off, so it almost makes a different pattern. So I'll see if I can actually like snap to it. I'm not sure if it'll change here, but let me kind of play around with it here. And so take a listen. Kind of, I'll illustrate a little bit of what it's doing. Now it's going to change here. It's like it almost turns to a gallop at that point because of the round it's playing there. Okay, I think we're gonna have to try to make that work. That was an unexpected good fun accident there. So let's so what that did is it left us not quite long enough here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make this a little. We're gonna have to add some notes there. So let's see. Yeah, and Rain Survives saying that it felt like that it slowed down. What actually happens is because I think what I did is I put it in an eighth note too early, or maybe it's a quarter. I think it's an eighth note too early. So what's happening is it's restarting a little bit earlier than it should have. So it actually feels like it's skipping a beat. Instead of slowing down, it just feels like it skips something, and now all of a sudden it's trying to catch up with itself. So, yeah, well, I'm forcing you to use all those cams. I appreciate it. I'm trying to look through it. But when there's a big purple like thing on my screen, it's hard to miss there. So, yeah, Zeno, I'm actually going to be adding, because I'm already hearing like some percussion. I definitely want to add some percussion to this. I think it's going to add that extra driving feel to it. So now having this new kind of round section is going to be a little funky though. So I'm going to have to figure that out. So we're going to add a MIDI item. Let's see what we did here. So now I'm going to have to come up with what's going to go with these. So maybe I will just mirror those. So that's F sharp E. Let's see if that works. Let's go. I'm going to go up an octave. Another octave. F sharp. E. Let's bring those down a little bit. Let's see what the previous are. About 110. So let's make sure those are kind of in the line of that velocity there. All right, let's see how that sounds. This is actually pretty interesting. I was not expecting this. Oh, I had a wrong note there. Which one was incorrect? Oops. What did I do here? There we go. Yeah, okay, that's better. Half step off makes it real weird. So, all right, let's see. All right, sorry, just keeping an eye out here. So, Rain's using those purples. He's getting all his questions answered. Let's see. Sounds like the phrase actually does slow a touch. Well, it would be hard for it to, because it's all quantized, so I'm not sure. It actually could be like an accent thing. So maybe I'll try to even those out in there. Maybe that'll help. Let's play back in there. Actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something different on the stabs underneath there. So let me mute. I want to kind of I want to emphasize kind of that gallop feel that I was talking about earlier. So let's play that again. Actually, let me see. Let's see what this sounds like. right, I think that could work. And what it'll do is it'll make, we're basically using the same things, but we're making it change just a little bit. And what it does, you can use the same thing over again and make it interesting because now something's changed, something's different. So we're going to try playing around with that. Let's see how it goes. That was too fast. That's not how I want to do it. Let's try that again. I don't like that either. I think I did it right the first time, and now I forgot what I did. Let's try it again. Let's try one more time here. Yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do there. So I think I just saw a question for me. Hold on. Let's see. Yes. Unfinished projects. I won't open it here. I actually put them into I separated them into folders the other day just because they started they were all in one folder just kind of randomly. I have so many, it's ridiculous. And so many of them are just terrible. Some of them are worth it. And they all have just random names of whatever thing I thought of that day when I played it. Some of it's just super just random, it's this key and I use this instrument, guitar in A, and then I'll look through and I have 6 guitar in A's and they're all different and they don't fit together, and now I have to rename them because I don't know what any of them are. But yeah, I've got a billion. So yeah, my thought process is I need to go back into all these old projects. I need to actually listen to all of them and separate them again into worth working on and throwing in a pile over here, and maybe someday I'll think about it. But yeah, I've just got just random stuff. It's one thing if again, this could probably go for any creative endeavor whatsoever. But for me specifically, it's music. The thing that made me not only play more music, write more music, and all those sorts of things, the thing that made me do that the most was make it accessible. So when I was younger, especially when I was in college and you're moving around and, sometimes you have roommates and you have a lot of shared spaces. So you don't want to just take your stuff and put it all over the place all the time. A lot of times what I would do is I'd have a guitar in my amp, but my guitars would live in the case and the amp would live in the corner of the room and it's all tied up. And then if I'm if I thought, I should play some music, then I would have to get everything out, find a place to plug it in, find a place to put it, make sure I get it out, get the guitar tuned, and all these sorts of things, which, again, first world problems. But sometimes if you just kind of want to pick it up and then you think, I don't want to dig that thing out of the corner, and then I got to put it up later and all this stuff, which, again, sounds super lazy, mega lazy. I get it. But when what I did is now I've got a case or a stand back here where I can have all my guitars out at once. But I used to have just the one, which again, absolutely solved the problem. I could have one out and I had my amplifier out and it's plugged in and it has its place and it lives there. And so it turned into this big deal where now I was like, you know what? I have this idea. I want to sit down and play. I could literally sit down in my chair, grab a guitar, plug it in, flip the on switch, and I was playing. And once I did that, and once I set up in my computer here for things like this, once I set up like a template where all I do is open a new project, open the template, all the instruments that I think I might use are there and set up, and I don't have to do all the like switching around. All of a sudden now I'm making music instead of like fiddling with all my crap until until I finally decide to make music 20 minutes later. And what's really cool about that too is that, you know, maybe it would take me 15, 20 minutes to get set up before, and then maybe I lose a little steam, maybe I didn't, and then I'd play for 15 minutes or whatever. But now, like, there's no chance to lose steam. I pick it up, I play it, and if I'm done in 5 minutes and I get the idea out, it's done. And I did it, and my computer's set up that literally all I have to do is say, hey, record that. I'm going to play it a couple times through, make sure it's done, and then I can forget about it and come back to it later. So highly, highly recommend, whether it's music, whether you're a writer, whatever it is, like, just make it accessible. Like, if you're a writer, have a notebook, a little one, whatever, that you carry around with you with a pen. Or I know a lot of them use like little recorders like on your phone, and just every time you have a thing that pops in your head, just get it down. Because if you don't get it down, a lot of times it's gone forever. So if you document it, yeah, you're gonna have a hard drive or a notebook full of stuff that you're never gonna do anything with. It maybe you hate it, but if you ask anybody that makes any art, like, how many songs of the greatest band in the world, how many, you know, whoever you want it to be, how many Led Zeppelin songs just died because they were like, you know what, we write a whole bunch of songs, but there's only like 10 of them that are really good, and then the rest of them go by the wayside. Or the Beatles, or whoever it might have been. It's just the way it is. So you got to do the thing, and then the percentage of the stuff that's good will come out. So that's my soapbox for now about arting. So I'm sure anybody else that does any sort of artistic endeavors, I'm sure if they've ever done that, they would agree with me that just making it accessible, an ability to just grab it, go, get the idea down, and then you don't have to like draw it out, and you don't have to like refine it, you don't have to detail it right there. Just get the idea out. Like, this is a really kind of weird story, but my fiance, this was a few years ago, I don't know if she had some sort of ailment where like she got dehydrated and everything, and she just really wasn't feeling well. And so we actually went to the emergency room. It was fine. It was not a big deal, but they actually had her on an IV, and they wanted the IV to actually go a little faster than it normally just would. So they had this little IV pump, and it just made this like super rhythmic sound. And I remember, like, as she's asleep there, like, I literally just pulled out my phone, got a little recorder, and I recorded the beat that IV pump was making. And then later I started like fiddling around with it musically, because it was just like such a cool, interesting sound. So anything can be that. Again, something inspires you, just say it out loud, or write it down, or record it, or whatever it might be. So there it is. So now I've probably got 1,000 messages I need to look through here. So I see Grouch Couches is talking about things, buying 7-string guitars. Let's see here. Yeah, I used to have wall mounts for my guitars. I haven't done it here because I have the one here, but I did used to have my guitars up on a wall. Rain Survives asked if I leave myself notes. I do sometimes, but only if the idea that I had, I feel super solid about. Sometimes, and I've noticed this, sometimes I'll make a thing, forget about it, come back to it 6 months to a year later, completely forgot I ever made it, and then it's got a completely new life, or it's got an idea behind it that I never even dreamed of before. So sometimes when I add notes for myself, sometimes if I'm not just like, this is absolutely what needs to happen, they will actually inform me later of things of a rut that I didn't want to be in. So sometimes I'll purposely leave things out if I'm not like super sure about them, and I just put down the thing that I'm like, this is the idea I want to remember. Any extraneous stuff, like, I'll leave out unless it's like, oh, this is the key to the whole thing. So I will do that too. Yeah, looks like, Grouch Cast with the drum set. I hear you. I got it. This place is tiny, so like I couldn't fit one in here if I wanted to. Not that I'm good enough to play it, but yeah, it's miking drums is an entire art that I know not anywhere near enough about, so I'm going to stick to MIDI drums for now and just kind of work with them. Yeah, it looks like you got a 7-string. I do have one 7-string. I kind of like it, but it's kind of a short scale length. So if anybody doesn't know anything about guitars, basically the distance from let me make sure I have this in frame here, from basically the bridge where the strings actually come across the bridge up here to the nut where they cross here, that's called the scale length of the guitar. So the scale length can be slightly different. So like on a bass, scale length is really, really long. And what it basically does is the longer the scale length, let's say you put the same thickness string on 2 different guitars with 2 different scale lengths. The one with the longer scale length, you're actually going to have to tune tighter to get the same pitch. And so what it can do is it actually makes it a little more, I guess, again, it's just like if you pulled something tighter, it's a tighter feel to it. So the 7-string I have is actually a short scale length, and I bought that on that way because I thought that having it shorter would make it easier to play because it's a little bit smaller. But it turns out after I have it and I've played around with it, I actually prefer a longer scale length because I like that extra tension in the string. So I think someday maybe I'll get a 7-string that's got a longer scale length to it, but this one works fine for now. Yeah, so there's my little guitars. We haven't talked about guitars for a while, so there's my little offshoot about guitars. Let's see here. Learn drums, trombone. Yeah, I was gonna learn drums too. The guys that ran the band tried to get me to play trombone because they were both trombone players. I was like, I don't want to do that, and I ended up playing saxophone, which is good. I actually really enjoyed myself playing saxophone, so I'm glad I did. And I wish I would have learned drums, but I don't now. I don't wish I would have learned drums instead of saxophone. I just wish I would have learned drums in addition to saxophone. So let's see here. Animal G's back. Awesome. Let's see. Yeah, actually 26.5 would be great for that scaling. Mine's a 25.5. So it's just like a standard Stratocaster, and that big low string on there just kind of flops around. So I wish like I said, I wish I would have had a 26.5 or a 27 or something like that. This guitar back here that I picked up earlier, it's a 6-string, but it's actually a 26.5 scale length. So it's an extra long. It's not quite baritone, but it's got an extra long scale length. So I do like that. Again, kind of what we did in that first episode is kind of good for that chugging because the strings don't just like flop around. So yeah. So anyway, I digress. Yeah, thanks for the questions though, guys. That's awesome. Yeah, and if the live recording, so Grouchcast is asking about live recording without latency. So I'm using Reaper. I am sure there are things for other DAWs, but what there actually is there is a plugin that was made for Reaper called REA, so the beginning of Reaper, called Restream. And what it does is it basically just takes the final output of the master track and sends that to the audio device. So basically what it does, instead of having all this stuff, Restream, REASTREAM, basically you put it on the master track and then you can send it straight to OBS and it'll just be like straight in there. So that was before we started the stream. Crazy Ike and I sat down for like hours trying to figure out how to make sure that this works. So that was the thing. Restream was awesome. It really helped with that. So that kind of got everything. And so now I actually have it saved into my project. So every time I open a new project, Restream pops up and it's automatically ready. If I wanted to stream straight from that project, it's ready to go. So there you go. Look at me teaching stuff today. Awesome. All right. You are welcome. So, all right. What was I doing? Okay. So we had this set up. Oh, I was going to do different stabs here. So let me play it again so I remember what I was doing. Get my clicks back in here. Try that again. Okay, let's see if we can record that without screwing it up. I missed one in there. Let's see. Let's see if we can fix it. Well, first of all, I had a thing there. So let's see what it sounds like. Let's quantize it. I think maybe I started not where I wanted to start. I think that might have been the issue here. So let's let me see if I can move these. Oops. So it looks like I may have been off by just a hair here. So let's go. Let's see if that worked. Whoops. That did not work. Okay, let's move that back a little bit. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out where that beat is that I missed. That wasn't it. I think maybe off beat here. Let's try it. Yeah, that's what it is. And then I skipped one because I got off and threw myself off. So let's place that in here, maybe where it needs to be. I'm not exactly sure where yet. Let's maybe there. Let's listen. Let's listen again here. That might work. Not sold on it yet, but let's see. Let's try listening from before that. Those last notes were wrong. Let's get rid of those. All right, let's see. I'm not sold on this yet, but let's try. Let's try making it work. See what happens here. So that means I need to split all of these. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace what we had in those kind of stab sections before. with the new thing we did. See if it sounds awful or not. Because it might. Doesn't sound awful. However, there is one in here that I did not like the timing of, so we're gonna find it. I think what I want to do is kind of take straight from, so when it changes chords that first time, I think I want to make it go a little faster. Yeah, I think that's what I want to do. So let's actually move these so it happens right after. See how that sounds. Let's try that again. So let's try bringing these up. I know why, because I only changed it on one, so let's change it on all of them. That will make it a little bit more, stand out a little better. So let's see what happens. I think it's gonna work. Like I said, I'm not quite sold on it yet, but I think what I want to do here is I think I want to add some snare hits. Let me see if this is the right one here. Oops. So let's kind of listen back from the beginning of this new section and play around with it a little bit. I think that is going to work. I think, if you remember, I did a bunch of like snare stuff last time around. I think it just got way too busy. I think I was trying a little too hard with it. And I think that's what threw it off. So what I'm going to do is kind of play around with, again, more just hits and kind of that roll to snap type of feel. So let's see what we come up with here. yeah, again, I was playing around a little bit. I think I got a little too busy in there again for a middle section. So let's see what we did here. I think the beginning is going to work okay. I think that's where it started getting weird. So let's maybe snip that right there. I think I'm going to have to add a couple here because I didn't start at the very beginning because I wasn't quite sure of the timing. So let's do, I think I need one here. I need one there. Yeah, one thing I kind of learned here too with this, remember I talked about this kind of percussion program that I'm using here, this one here. I kind of realized it might have a little bit of difference for like the velocities, but I think it just kind of ends up being just volume. So I definitely want to look for something in the future that actually has the, where you hit it soft and it sounds different. Because if you notice, like even when I'm hitting this soft, it's quiet, but it still sounds like that really hard snap. So it's like it's not really like playing a drum softly. It's just like turning the volume down on a drum, if that makes sense. So I do want to find something where I can play around with that and actually have where it sounds like it's being played softly, not just like volume down. So, but we can play with that in the future here. So let's see if this sounds a little better. All right, so we got that. This roll was a little quiet. That sounds real weird. Okay, so that part works, and then I started doing crazy stuff, and then I started back to doing good stuff at the end. So let's figure out where that spot is. So it looks like right there, I started coming to my senses, doing things correctly again. Let's make sure that's the right spot. So that's where I started screwing that up. Let's actually bring up. All right, let's find that spot here. I think it's right where this starts. All right, so what I'm going to do, because I think it's right when that kind of odd timing starts happening, the round. So I'm going to split it right there so I can kind of keep myself organized. And let's do this. Let's look at the rhythm that we played in the first part. So we start on the second eighth note. So I just need to adjust these a little bit. I think that'll be in the right timing. Alright, and then that one was a little too fast. Let's see if that sounds right. There we go. Okay, so we got the rhythms fixed there. This is the part that was kind of terrible, so we're going to get rid of that. What I think I will probably do, let's see if this fits. So let's see here. I'm going to take a stab in the dark and see if this lines up. I don't know if it will. It doesn't. Okay. Excuse me, plague. Plague's still there, just a little bit. All right, so we're just gonna have to play it through, I think, here. But I'm gonna actually move all of this up to the one I want it. So let's put it there. Yes, that's the one I want. Okay, so we can unmute that one now. All right, so let's make sure we do this somewhat correctly here. Let's see. Rain asks, do you have any intentions of messing with left or right on this, like creating movement around the sonic field? Yeah. So, yeah, the pan. So I am thinking about that because right now that snare, at least in my ear, sounds like it's almost like it's taking over a little bit. Like it's kind of just right there in your face. So what I might do, this one currently is panned a little bit. Actually, let me make sure. Yeah, that one is currently panned a little bit. But I feel like I want to mix it with another drum maybe just so that I can kind of widen that out a little bit. Or maybe move it around or something, just because it's, I don't know if it's a product of, like I said, that being like, even when it's played quietly, it's like really snappy. I don't know if it's a product of that and not being able to get that kind of light drum hit thing, or if it's just the sound being too in your face. I'm kind of trying to move it a little bit to the background. So I'm going to be playing around with volumes and probably panning left and right. So not quite sure how I want to do that yet, but I do definitely get what you're getting at there, that it needs to do something other than just play. And I haven't quite figured that out yet, but I do think you're onto something there. So let's see if I can fill in this section real quick, and then we'll try playing around with maybe making that sit a little better in the whole sound. I intended to record that and I forgot. Let's try that again. That will work. Let's shorten that so it fits right in where we want it to, and make sure that sounds all right. Okay, that works. I think what I want to do, because this one is panned 30% to the left right now, so I can actually play it a little bit, kind of move it around, just kind of see, just to see how it sounds. Still feels like it's just out in front, and I don't want it to be as out in front. So what I think I'm gonna do here, I think I'm gonna add some reverb. So what reverb can do, now it's got reverb on it already, but it's the built-in reverb, which is okay, but it's not really my favorite. So there is a company called Variety of Sound that makes a whole bunch of cool different, I guess, different effects. So like you'll see in here, there's an EQ, there's like compressors and things, which I won't get into right now, but they do have one called Epic Verb. And for whatever reason, when you first turn it on, it is truly epic, and it is literally on like 1,000. So I'll actually just solo this here so you can kind of hear how ridiculous it is. So you do have to turn that mix way down. And then you can actually change the type of reverb here. So. Okay, so that kind of works there. I think that might bring it to the background, but it sounds like Rain is asking about the taiko drums like we did before. So let's just kind of experiment. Let's grab all that, copy it. Let's actually move it down to the taiko drum just to see what it sounds like. Oops. Let's mute the snare. I don't know which one this is going to be hitting, so because they're all different. I don't know. Let's see what it sounds like. I'm not really sure what it's going to sound like, so it'll probably be big and boomy and epic. Let's do this. Again, we're going to experiment here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the snare out of the first part of the section and then add the snare in for the second part. Again, I think what that'll do is it'll add intensity. So what I think I might do here, because a lot of times these taiko drums work really well when they are more than one at once. So I'm gonna try to just copy all this and maybe a different sounding one. So maybe one that's got a little bit more transient. So transient's like if I'm to clap, like there's a lot of sound going on there, but the transient is the like, if you were looking at the thing, it's the like big spike of sound. So this one I feel like up here, that's got more transient than this does, so I'm hoping to maybe take advantage of that. So let's paste. Oops, I gotta copy it first. So let's copy that, and let's paste it, and then let's move. So that way we've got two drums going at once. And let's see, I think that might have a little bit better effect. This note, it feels funny. I don't like it. It's coming in a little early. So let's trim it. Let's do that. Let's fix it. Whoa! Absolutely not what I want to do. Do not do that. Okay, just grab the one note. That would have been real weird. Okay, so let's trim that. Trim that. Actually, you know what happened? I don't know. Did I not quantize this? Maybe that's the problem. Well, let's try that. That ought to actually make it sound a little better. So let's is this one not quantized either? No, it is. Just trying to get this all to sound a little bit more steady in time. Again, I'm not a great performer for this, so let's see what this sounds like. Ooh, I just got an idea. Okay, so let's do that. Let's find one of those. All right. I think it's going to have to be turned down significantly because I don't want it to step out too much. But let's duplicate this track. Let's get rid of all those sounds that were already in there. I'm going to turn this one down a little bit, I think. All right, let's do that. Let's see what happens here. That can work. It just needs to be quieter. So let's that's not what I wanted to do. Edit, undo. There we go. The wrong note. Okay, let's do this one more time. Okay, there's a lot of little notes in there. So I think that will work. Let's bring that down. We're going to mix those in. And actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pan the bassy type drum to the left. I'm going to pan the clicks a little bit to the right. And let's see what that sounds like. Actually, let's quantize that. Okay. This is good. This is what I was envisioning for these taiko drums, but I hadn't quite figured it out yet. So. Okay. I think that's kind of working. I still feel like these, at least the click part of the drums, the taiko drums, is really in your face. So I'm going to, again, use that same trick where I add a little bit of reverb and see if I can... Sometimes when you add reverb, so if you don't know what reverb is, it's kind of that open booming sound we kind of talked about before. So by making it sound like it's in a bigger room, which is kind of what reverb is. Like if I'm in a little room like this, I don't have much reverb, but if I have a big concert hall, it's gonna like kind of boom like every time I do that. So what I think, by adding reverb, what that does is it pulls it away from the forefront. So it's still there, but what it does is it kind of brings it in and blends it with everything else instead of being like, here's the one thing right in your face. So like, if I was to play, some other thing like, oh, thanks, nice shirt, isn't it? Thank you, Air Laser. So like if you were to play something that's just dry with no reverb, it sounds like right here in your face, like it's just poking you in the forehead, and it's almost like it feels a little bit odd. Like, it just doesn't feel like it would in the world. Like, it feels artificial. So by adding some of this, you kind of put it in a place. So I'm going to see if I can maneuver this kind of clicking transient kind of back a little bit. So let's see. This already sounds better, so let's bring the volume up. Let's cut that in. Wait, where's the halfway? Because I want to put some more of those clicks in here. I think it's there. Copy that. That didn't work. Let's undo that. Edit. Edit. Okay, let's close that for now. There we go. So we don't want to split there. Figure out where we want to split this. Like right there. So right there is where we want to split it. Okay, so let's hear that transition in a little bit there. I feel like that is not on the beat. That's why. Okay, I was like, why does that sound so funny? That one was not quantized, and I actually didn't add this extra section in here yet either. So let's do that. So that way we have those doubling effects like we had on the other ones. So let's copy, paste. Ooh, what did I do? Edit, undo. I think that's the one I had. C3. Let's make sure that's we're using the same drum there. Oh, we're not. So we did it on D. So let's move that one up so it's the same. Got it. There we go. And I believe no, this is different. So let's make sure we move that one too. Get rid of that one. Okay, so let's actually this, I'm not sure this is quantized either. There we go. Quantize your friend. There we go. Okay. So I think let's listen to the whole section, see what happens. Change that up back there, but that is working. It is a little bit of dragony. I didn't really plan that, but it's a little bit of dragony. There is a crystal dragon somewhere in the world, so maybe it'll make an appearance. I don't know for sure yet. So Excuse me. Okay, so let's see here. So that's working, and kind of while I was playing around with there too, you'll notice I actually was adjusting that reverb, and what I did is I added even more. So like if we listen to that by itself now, it's really, really like reverby. It sounds like it's in this massive room, but again, it's backing away, so it sounds like it's in the background, as opposed to if you turn it completely off. Sounds like it's almost like right behind you or right next to you instead. Now this sounds like it's just being played in a room with you, and I think that's more of the feel I was trying to go with there, because it was just too in your face. So I kind of like that a little bit better. And I feel like our kind of bigger drums, the kind of boomy ones that we were working with, I feel like I either need to add one more drum to these, or I might reverb them up too. But I think I might just add another drum, because we've got all these different sounds to work with. I think I like this kind of middle. It's kind of a mid-ranged. It's got a little bit of a slap to it, but it's not super boomy like some of these others. So that might work. So what I'm going to do, and again, what this is doing is by using multiple drums, it's kind of creating this feeling and this sound of an ensemble, which again, if you look up on YouTube how taiko drums are played, they're almost always played in a big ensemble of usually at least 4 drums, but a lot of times you'll see where there's like 25 drums and there's a bunch of people playing them. Usually it's a performance too, so you'll see like there's a lot of dancing around, and like, you know, one player might play this drum and then turn around and play this drum next to him, while the person that was playing that drum before turns and plays a different one. So it's very dramatic too, which is pretty cool as far as just like a performance aspect. So okay, I like that, but I think actually, because I actually feel like I need to center this. I had it panned, but I feel like having it centered, it really because it's a low kind of driving sound, I think it really brings that a little more powerful. One of these didn't get moved properly. Let's fix it. So it looks like, yeah, let's try that again. That's better. Okay, and I think what I want to do too is, along with these, I think I want to add a second sound with it too. That'll probably be the one I add. Let's do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate the track. So I want this to be the same thing, but because I'm going to pan it a different direction, I want to make sure that it's exactly the same. And I don't want it on the same track, because then that creates extra problems that I don't need. So let's do that. And let's do that with all of these here. Okay. Oh, I'm running out of time. All right. That's good. That means I'm filling my time and I'm having fun. So let's do this real quick. So we're going to take the original kind of slappy sound, make that left, and then the new slappy sound, we're going to make that right. Actually might get, yeah, let's do 30% for now. Kind of see how that sounds. Start. think that's working. So to answer a question for Animal G there, I probably will put them somewhere. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with them yet. I have been looking at the idea of actually licensing a lot of this music, so that way I can put it out there, and if someone wanted to purchase the license for it to use it in like a film or whatever, that would be available. But I don't want to exclude all of you that that have been along with me for the ride here. So I'm working that out a little bit in my head. What I might do is I might have it out there for licensing, but I might actually make it available for download somehow through the Discord or something like that, or maybe if we get our website or Patreon or something like that. So that way I want everybody that's here, that's a part of our community, to be able to access it. But I also want to make sure that, I put in a lot of work on these sometimes. You see a lot of it here, but I do a lot outside of the stream too. So, maybe if I can capitalize a little bit on it monetarily, that'd be nice too. I am all about multiple income streams. So I definitely want to make sure it's available for everybody, but I want to make sure that I can license it as well. So I will definitely figure something out there, and it will be available for everybody that's been along for the ride for sure. So, yeah, we can definitely work something out for that. But we'll figure that out sometime in the future. And my time is getting low. I did not realize. I mean, I realized, but it just kind of like keeps going, and you add a thing, and then all of a sudden it's 20 minutes later. So I'm going to start wrapping it up here a little bit. I think we did a lot of good work here today. It looks like we got almost another, not quite, but almost another minute worth of music that we added in here too. And I feel like we built this section, but we didn't explore it fully yet. So I think there's still some work to do. And again, I still want to make sure I can transition the previous section to the new section. Yeah, we can hear it all. Let's, it might sound funny because there's no transition in there yet, but you know what? Here's what we're going to do. We're just going to grab it all. We're just going to smash it together, and it might sound funny on the transition, but whatever. We're just going to deal with it, and we'll come up with transitions later, and who knows. So let's see what happens. We're gonna play it front to back, no transition in the middle, and we'll see how it sounds. So here we go. Have to get rid of that snare drum. I don't like Here comes the moment of truth. Here comes the transition. We're definitely gonna have to make some to work on some transitions and continuity there, but I think they can work together. that's where we're at right there. Yeah, like it didn't flow together quite right. But again, there's supposed to be a transition there, so we will definitely get that working. And again, I think too. So we had a lot of those, like I said, the taiko drums in here with kind of a different feel. We use a different feel for the snare on the second section. So I think by adding more of the taiko drums and more kind of that feel with the snare in the first part, I think that's going to make it run together a lot better than it is right now too. Again, I don't think that musically, as far as like pitch and tone, that it doesn't work, because it definitely does. I think right now is feel. I think the first part feels different than the second part, and we need to make them feel like they work together. So that's really what it is. Again, I think it's going to work for sure. There's nothing here where I'm just like, delete it all, I hate it. Except maybe that snare on the first section. But anyway, other than that, like, it can definitely work. It just needs a little bit of tweaking, a little bit of work. We'll see. It may just be like an easy fix. If it is, I might do that off camera, and then we can kind of continue the writing process the next time around. I do want to try, if at all possible, I want to try to make the next show, so next week, the next show, I kind of want to make that maybe finishing this up, but we'll see. Yeah, it will be next Tuesday. But I only have a few minutes left here, so let me get my plugs in here. So, first of all, we've got merch. I'm wearing it. I love it. TT2KB merch, Redbubble. Go check it out. If you want to support us or at least if you want to support us monetarily, that's the best way to do it for sure. Plus, you get to go out there and you get to show us off to others. We appreciate that. Airlayers is a champ. She's wearing stuff like every stream. She's got some sort of TT2KB stuff on her stream, so we really do appreciate it. Speaking of, check out Airlayer's channel. She is mod, I think last time I deemed her mod of the Common Era. She's the best. She's got a lot of great content going on there too. Also check out our stream team. So we've got all those guys. Should be getting them all linked up in here too. So they'll all be, they all have great content, almost all like gaming related, whether it's video games or tabletop games or whatever. So definitely check all of them out. Let me make sure I get everybody in here. So again, that's Grouch Couch, Liching Hour, and our newest addition to that is the Dragons in the Dining Room for the stream team there. So definitely check all of them out. Like I said before, the Redbubble, go check it out. There are Bardic Knowledge specific shirts. There's Wisdom Check shirts, which is the show that's on Monday nights with Rain Survives and Dustin. I think they're both in chat. They were both in chat earlier, but they run like a talk show, all gaming related, lots of great interviews, so definitely check them out. Let's see here. Join our Discord channel. It is also linked there. We have tons of people on there in that community. We got to thank Dustin for that one. He definitely has been orchestrating, putting that all together and keeping that organized. So really awesome job from him. And again, tons of stuff going on there. We got people sharing artwork, streams, just general chatting, having fun. People are looking for groups for tabletop RPG games. So definitely check out the Discord, take a look around, contribute, whatever you want to do, come hang out with us there. Let's see what we got here. Oh, we've got a lot of our past wisdom checks, because there's a ton of those right now. In addition to, I think, our Everstorm games and the Bardic Knowledge episodes are going to be going up on our YouTube channel. So sometimes Twitch, after a certain period of time, stuff starts to disappear. So we do want to put it up on the YouTube channel too. So if you do want to do some catching up, especially on stuff that's got a pretty long life, like Wisdom Checks in year 2 at this point. Our Everstorm game's been going over a year. At least we've been doing the streams for over a year. So if you want to catch up on any of that, go check out the YouTube channel there too. Wisdom Check, because it is mostly talking and vocal. I don't think it'd work much for my show, but they are actually have podcasts set up for their Wisdom Checks now too. So you can check them out on both, I believe, iTunes and Spotify, if I remember right. Yep, both iTunes and Spotify. Check out David Lee Pancake. He's 3D artist, Rain Survives dad. Great artist. Again, as I said last time we did the stream, he's been integral to our gaming group surviving the years. Many games were played at his house amongst all this wonderful art. He's still making it. He's going to be at C2E2. We are also going to be at C2E2 in Chicago, not this weekend, but the following weekend. David Lee Peggy is going to be there with his booth. Tons of great art. Go check it out. Grab something, whether small or large. Rain Survives is going to be manning the booth there too, I believe. I'm sure we're all going to be stopping by there, just hanging out as well. In addition, we as TT2KB are going to be putting on a panel, mostly led by our resident DM Levi. For basically, it's going to be an entire kind of talk and discussion about homebrewing games. So making your own world, creating your own, your own, I guess, playground for all your players, as opposed to doing like modules and such. So should be really cool. Check us out. We're going to be there again. That's not this weekend, but the following weekend, Saturday evening. I want to say at like 5:45, but don't quote me on that. So we will definitely be there. We're going to be playing 7 Days to Die tomorrow. I don't think we're quite, I wasn't here for the last two, I don't think. So I don't think we're quite ready for a seventh day yet, but we might be preparing right for it. So come see us fail at the apocalypse and get eaten by zombies. Let's see. What else? Let's see. Rain Survive says he will be, in fact, running the booth. We are going to have our thing there. Let's see. Air Laser loves her wisdom check mug. She got complimented on it outside of her stream today, which was pretty cool. Am I forgetting anything? I think that's everything. Put it in there real quick if I didn't. Again, I am going to be here again next week. Again, I'm going to try to do this every week if possible. I won't have the plague, I hope, next week, which is the only reason I canceled last week. I thought I could do it all the way up until a few hours before, and I just realized I could barely get off the couch. So, so we're back. We're going to be doing this more. I don't know if Dustin is currently manning the TT2KB. Thank you, Animal G. Appreciate it. We do want to send over and we want to raid someone. So we're going to have to jump on there and try to figure that out. I'm going to try to raid somebody. So everybody stick around. Let me see if I can figure that out. And otherwise, I think that's it. Thanks for joining me, guys. I'll be back again next week. And come see all our other stuff. Everstorm this weekend, Wisdom Check Monday, Bardic Knowledge next Tuesday. Then we've got our panel at C2E2 the following Saturday. So thank you guys. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.